The Pacific Ocean is the narrator. With an area of approximately 63 million square miles, this body of water is the biggest on the planet. It's interesting to note that other ancient peoples who lived across this enormous region had similar tales about a long-gone, submerged civilization known as Lemuria, or Mu. Mu was a vast continent that was thought to have stretched from Hawaii in the north to Easter Island in the southeast, all the way to the west, to Micronesia. Perhaps 50,000 years ago, it flourished before being submerged under the waves, at the conclusion of the last ice age, perhaps. Narrator. One of the many myths told by Polynesians and indigenous Hawaiians is that Pleiades visitors once called the vanished continent of Mu home. We refer to our various connections to the Pleiades as Kapoe o Kalani, the people of the heaven. William Henry. The Hawaiians thought that Mu was the original home of the Hawaiian Islands, and it is thought that the Pleiadians were Mu's first inhabitants. Narrator. Ancient astronaut theorists assert that traces of Mu can still be discovered today, despite the majority of mainstream academics dismissing the stories of Mu as little more than fantastical myths, in the enigmatic Nan Madol ruins. The massive basalt settlement of Nan Madol is perched on the edge of the Pacific Ocean island of Pohnpei in Micronesia. It must have been constructed many thousands of years ago because it is composed of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these enormous basalt columns, and a large portion of the site is still underwater. Shoch. In fact, several individuals propose that perhaps Nan Madol was merely suggestive of the last piece of Mu that remained above water, of what this highly developed civilization had submerged beneath the seas. Narrator. Is it possible that the buildings on Nan Madol are remnants of the Mu, an ancient extraterrestrial civilization? It's a real possibility, according to Rufino Mauricio, Director of the Federal States of Micronesia Office of National Archives. Japan's Yonaguni Island, September 1997. An underwater expedition is started by many groups of geologists, researchers, and expert divers close to the southernmost of the isolated Ryukyu Islands. They are going to look at the Yonaguni Pyramid, an enigmatic stone formation. The divers were less than 100 feet below the surface, encounter rock structures that seem to have been carved out of the bedrock, such as huge stairs, platforms, wedges, and pillars. Michael Mott. Through meticulous carving, the Yonaguni monument has been transformed into megaliths, platforms, and stairways. The fact that it was designed for giants is the only issue. Given the size of the stairs, who constructed this monument? And what calamitous incident caused it to sink to the bottom of the ocean? Giorgio Tsoukalos. There are numerous cuts that appear to be man-made rather than natural, due to its excessive precision. Was the Yonaguni purposely changed while the ocean's water levels were lower? We are aware that this occurred at some time 14,000 years ago during the last ice age. Robert Schoch. We must now keep in mind that during the end of the previous ice age, compared to today, sea levels were up to 300 feet lower. Consequently, this structure would have been higher than the sea level. It would have been dry land back then. Narrator. Is it possible that the enormous underwater structure known as Yonaguni is actually the remains of a highly developed civilization that once flourished on Earth over 10,000 years ago? Yes, according to ancient astronaut thinkers, and further proof can be discovered in Polynesian legends about the long-lost continent known as Mu. Perhaps the remains are represented by the Yonaguni Monument, of a civilization in the Trans-Pacific that the Polynesians dubbed Mu. Evidence of an ancient megalithic civilization can be found all throughout Polynesia. Similar ruins can be seen off the shore of Pohnpei. Part of the ruins are underwater. David Childress. This vanished continent of Mu, which was located in the center of the Pacific Ocean, included Easter Island, as well as Hawaii, Tahiti, Tonga, and Samoa. and Mua is the name of Tonga's primary pyramid complex. Narrator. Although the majority of traditional academics reject the Mu tale as myth, theorists of ancient astronauts propose the existence of this extinct civilization may be proven beyond a reasonable doubt by a massive new discovery in Southeast Asia, Indonesia's West Java. Gunung Padang, or the Mountain of Enlightenment, is a mystery location in Karyamukti village. The locals have respected Gunung Padang as a sacred spot for thousands of years, and many have come here to meditate among the enormous chunks of stone. Dutch explorers, however, found in 1914 that the basalt columns strewn over the hilltop are not at all natural. Indeed, they are pieces of an old megalithic site. In 2013, a century later, the Indonesian government funded an excavation to discover any hidden treasures behind the debris and dirt layers. They discovered evidence that points to Gunung Padang as the oldest step pyramid in the world. Andrew Collins. Probably the most impressive megalithic building in all of Southeast Asia is Gunung Padang, which is made out of a hillside with a number of terraces supported by various kinds of structures and basaltic pillars. Robert Schoch. However, what is actually its age is significant. An Indonesian geologist has examined it, and based on his extremely solid data from seismic sections, radiocarbon analysis, and bore holes, as I have done around the Great Sphinx, he concluded that the site dates back an astounding 20,000 years or more, if not longer. Narrator. Geologists estimate that 20,000 years ago, Gunung Padang's home island of Java was the southernmost portion of the island chain, not an isolated one, in the Sundaland subcontinent. Because of this, some academics have hypothesized that Gunung Padang, with its high elevation, would have been the center of a civilization that vanished approximately 10,000 BC when the area was flooded by melting ice caps and transformed into the current group of islands. David Wilcock. The idea that there was a society of some kind is persuasive. They were extraterrestrial visitors to Earth because they used cutting-edge technology to build this before the flood occurred. Because of this, archaeologists are not discovering the evidence that would typically be expected to demonstrate a geometric advancement in technology that would have made it possible to construct a massive pyramid more than 12,000 years ago. Narrator. William Henry visited Weed, California, in November 2020 to see if he could personally record any proof to support the numerous reports of UFO sightings, puzzling disappearances, and interactions with otherworldly entities at Mount Shasta. Additionally, to investigate the amazing theory that the mountain might in fact have a doorway through time and space. Hello, Dustin. My name is William Henry. Hello, William. I'm happy to meet you. Dustin Naif, a local writer, has been delving into Mount Shasta's mysteries for years. These light beings, who are also said to reside within Mount Shasta, are the story that I believe excites and interests me the most. Can we now connect that to Lemuria or Mu? Yes, I believe there is something to the stories, and there is a lot of supporting evidence. One civilization is Lemuria. For its period, that culture was highly developed, and it was located off the North American Pacific coast. Narrator. Zoologist Philip Sclater initially postulated the possibility of a lost continent called Lemuria in 1864. Strangely, the old oral traditions of the native Hawaiian people support this notion, stating that the Pacific Islands in the area were formerly a part of a massive continent that was inhabited by an extremely developed extraterrestrial culture. We are aware that certain individuals become disoriented. These individuals are known as the Mu or Lemurian people, if you will. They formerly existed before disappearing beneath the sea. Mitch Horowitz. A number of occult and esoteric authors from the 19th century, such as Madame H.P. Blavatsky, who recognized this early human civilization as Lemuria. And it was believed that this so-called continent of Lemuria was home to some of humanity's occult and hidden origins. Pope. The concept of the lost continent of Lemuria is connected to Mount Shasta. They were regarded as very technologically sophisticated forefathers, perhaps aliens, perhaps gods. These people, whomever they were, suffered some sort of disaster. Additionally, the legend is that Mount Shasta became a haven for those who survived this apocalypse. Narrator: is it possible that thousands of years ago, there was a highly developed civilization on Earth? And if so, is there any validity to the idea that they sought safety in the Mount Shasta caves from a terrible apocalypse? Prospector J.C. Brown was one individual who believed the tale to be accurate. In the early 1900s, he determined to find the evidence. You know, J.C. Brown developed a deep fascination in Lemuria and Mu's theories. According to J.C. Brown, who was up here searching for gold in 1906, he unintentionally discovered a tunnel that he characterizes as man-made, and he discovered what he refers to as some sort of reliquary with several documents of a vanished civilization a few miles in. Then he talks about discovering the mummified giants' bodies. Whoa! And one of the things miners did was use, symbols to designate the surroundings. Additionally, I have discovered a whole collection of these glyphs cut onto rocks not far from Mount Shasta. We are aware that they were created at some point between the turn of the century and the 1940s. Additionally, J.C. Brown would have been up here searching for items around that time. Henry, this makes me think of, similar symbols that emerge in areas like Oak Island, Northwest Arkansas, and Rennes-le-Château, France, connected to deposits and treasuries. Then it appears as though he is attempting to direct your attention inward, almost like two peaks or a peak inside a peak, almost into the mountain. This story takes an intriguing turn. When J.C. Brown, returned to Stockton some 30 years later, he intended to organize an expedition to revisit this location and record his findings. Additionally, he organized a group of roughly 80 individuals, and on the day they were scheduled to leave to ascend to this location, well, he simply disappeared inexplicably. Does he simply disappear? Indeed, he was never heard from again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating history and mystery content.